What's up everybody? Nate here. So it's no secret that millions of Americans have student loans and struggle with paying them off. And recently, the federal government has decided to step in and forgive millions of Americans of their student loans, but it hasn't been widespread relief just yet. However, there has been a bigger and bigger push from millennials in particular for the federal government to forgive all of the federal student loan debt, over $1 trillion of it. Now, there have been a ton of different plans and ideas on how to do this. President Joe Biden forgiving around $50,000 of federal student loan debt for all Americans. Also, the federal government just getting rid of all of it in general. And with the president coming out and saying that he's going to have a decisive decision on this sometime soon, I thought I would give my thoughts. Should the United States federal government cancel $50,000 or all of the federal student loan debt in the United States? Or are all of those borrowers on the hook? Today we're going to discuss that. But before we do me a quick favor and hit smash or destroy that thumbs up button below and ring that notification bell too. Both of those two things are completely free and they help to show me that you like this video and that you want to see even more just like it. All right, so to talk about student loans is something that is very personal to me. My generation was told that you had to A, work really hard, B, save all of your money, and C, go to school so you can get a higher education degree and make a ton of money in your life. More importantly, you will be successful. However, many of us ended up finding out that this is not the case. Me in particular, I did do the whole university and college thing. I ended up going to school for around 4 or 5 years, but what I ended up finding out is that hard work does not always pay off. As I was going through school, I was a teacher intent, so I was going through the education program, and I did several years of it, but what I ended up learning was teachers don't make that much money. That really confused me because I was trying to figure out why they didn't make that much money. Teachers oftentimes put in way more hours than they're required, so in theory, they should be making more money than just about anyone. Not only that, but teaching is always seen as a really important profession, so why don't teachers make all that much money? Well, this was one of my first realizations of finance in my life, and I think it's really where my financial journey started. I found out at that moment that working hard does not always equal financial success. If it did, then all of your laborers and all of your people working on the line at Ford and other factories would be millionaires. They work harder than anyone I have seen in my life. Blue collar workers and teachers. But the problem is your job doesn't always equal a high paycheck. It took me a while to figure that out. So what I ended up doing was dropping that as my degree and doing something that I love instead. And I'm so glad that I did because now I'm on YouTube. But I haven't made it just yet. So be sure to share this video so I can. And I definitely wasn't alone in this realization. Many millennials ended up going through school and realizing that the career that they're going to get after is not going to pay them enough to pay off all of their student loans. And like I said, we were basically born and raised to go to school. I was told from a young age that I had to go to college. Going to college was the only way that I was going to be successful in life. And I always thought, why did my parents tell me this? Well, because their parents told them the exact same thing and they ended up not doing it. My parents didn't really go to school. They had traditional jobs and they worked very hard. Now for them, that ended up working out, but in today's economy, that just doesn't work anymore for a lot of people. So they wanted me to avoid that. They didn't want me to live the life that they did because they were unhappy with their jobs and it was just a job. They wanted me to have a career in something that I loved that paid well. Education was the way to do that, but the United States ran into a problem in the 80s and 90s. Education was getting expensive. As generations were told that they need to go to school, that saturated the college market. Now everybody had college degrees. It was basically the standard, so schools started to make it more expensive, and there's good reason. They had to hire more professors. They had to create more buildings. The cost for them was rising too. At some point though, it got out of control, and now it was nearly impossible for the average American to afford to go to a 4-year school. So enter federal student loans from the United States government. The United States government realized that our economy needed to be educated and our workforce needed a higher education degree because all of these jobs were requiring it. But it wasn't fair that nobody could afford it, so they guaranteed federal student loans. Now anybody in the United States can go to school. All they need to do is take out loans. loans. But this created a problem because now schools saw it as easy money. They could charge whatever they wanted for tuition because everybody is going to be able to afford it. This maximized the saturation of colleges, so now everybody and their mother was going back to school. So it wasn't really the problem of student loans, it was the problem that schools were basically charging whatever they want unchecked. And now in 2022, this has become a crisis. 9 out of 10 Americans are demanding the United States federal government do something about federal student loans, whether it's regulating colleges, making school free, or paying off their loans in general. But here's the bigger issue. If the United States federal government was to pay off all of these loans, say they print the trillions of dollars necessary to get everybody out of debt, well, then that would only delay the problem. Many Americans are going to go to school next year. They're going to start racking up debt again. So what? Does the federal government bail them out too? Like I said, that is not the root of the problem. The problem is your colleges and universities. And the bigger problem is a lot of the careers that people choose to go into don't pay a lot. So the student loans that they have end up weighing them down completely. This is where you have to ask yourself, what do I want out of life? Do I want a high-paying job? Do I want to have a successful financial future and build wealth? Or do I want a job that I love and something that I'm passionate about? Just because you're passionate about it doesn't mean necessarily that it pays well. And just because it's high paying doesn't mean you're going to love it. There are doctors out there that make over 6 figures plus every single year, but they also typically have 6 figures in debt. They now have to pay all that off. So even though they're making a lot more money, they're really not because they have so much debt they need to pay off. If you get a different degree that doesn't cost as much, well, you might have less debt, but you also have less money. The issue that we're running into, though, is all of these careers, for the most part, are necessary to society. Obviously, we need doctors and lawyers and engineers and scientists, so you have to be able to go to school in order to do that. You can't exactly become a doctor without going to school, so you have to go to school, but not everybody can afford to go to school, so you need to take out loans. That pretty much ensures that all millennials and anybody going to school is not going to be financially ready once they exit school. And this is the problem we're facing right now. I think that schools need to make it a lot easier and a lot more affordable to attend their classes. There has got to be something and some way that we can make school more affordable, so that way, even if we do have to take out loans, they're not as high. In addition, I think the federal government of the United States should make it a lot easier and more accessible to repay these loans. They shouldn't be nearly impossible to pay off as they are right now. You can file bankruptcy for pretty much anything, but if you file bankruptcy with your student loans, well, guess what? You still have to pay your student loans. And the reason for that is because student loans have been such a huge cash cow for the federal government. Like I said, they're now guaranteeing that people go to school, and they've racked up trillions of dollars that they've had to print, but they're also getting payments every single month. Federal student loans are one of the biggest revenue sources for the United States federal government, so they don't just want to eliminate that altogether. They want people to be able to take out those loans so they can eventually continue to pay the United States government. Obviously, that isn't fair, though. And speaking of fair, this is one of the biggest arguments that people have when it comes to not allowing the federal government to pay off loans. I hear this argument a lot from older Americans. Back in the day, I went to school and I already paid off my loans, so why should you get a free ride? You have to pay just like I did. And I completely understand that way of thinking, but in theory, paying off a good portion of these loans will help out so many Americans and our economy. It basically helps everyone because now Americans have a lot more money. If millennials don't have to spend a lot of their paychecks on student loans, well, they're gonna spend that money on other things that they want and things that they need. Consumer spending drives our United States economy, so as millennials get that money freed up, they're gonna go out and spend. Bigger profits means that companies can pay their workers more, and in turn, everybody benefits. So yeah, while it's not technically fair, it might be something that's better for the future of our economy in general. And I think this federal student loan issue is not going to be as big of a problem in the future as it is today. Education in 2022, in a lot of cases, is free. You can go on YouTube and learn whatever you want from whoever you want, guess what? Whenever you want to. And a lot of these companies companies are realizing that. So instead of requiring a four-year college degree, they're basically just foregoing it. You don't need to have a college degree anymore in order to get the same types of jobs. That is opening up our economy to brand new opportunities, and opportunities are growing everywhere. Some people are realizing that you don't even need a full-time job in order to make money. You can start a business or have a lucrative side hustle or even start a YouTube channel. What's even better is the younger you are, the better chance you have at starting to invest. My generation wasn't taught to invest. Like I said at the beginning, we were taught to save. Work hard, save every dime that you have, and then get a good job so you can work your way up the corporate ladder and eventually retire. That's what I was taught. That just does not work because you'll never make enough money in order to keep up with things like inflation or build wealth. You're basically just running the rat race until you die. That system is broken in today's economy, so the only way to beat inflation and to make more money to build wealth is to start investing, and the younger you start investing, the better opportunity you have to build wealth faster. Many Americans are realizing that, so they're not even going to school. And why would they when they can learn everything on YouTube? But when it comes to school and the student debt problem, there is a big trade-off. There are consequences and risks of every single action, and you need to make sure that those risks are appropriate for you. I had a lot of friends coming out of high school that decided not to go to college. They took a more traditional path, working in a factory or some other blue-collar field. Yes, while they ended up making a lot of money at that particular time, their wages have not kept up. They are now putting in 50, 60, and 70 hours a week, and they're not making that much more money than they did 5 or 6 years ago. Like I said, working hard does not equal making more money. At the same time though, I know people that did go to school and got four-year college degrees and now are working a minimum wage job. You have to define success for you in order to achieve it. So in order to do that, you have to have goals. What do you want in life? Go after that and really want that. If you want to be a doctor, do it because you want to help people, not because you want a whole bunch of money. If you want a whole bunch of money, then there are other ways to do that, but don't think you need to go to medical school in order to achieve that success. Making money is not everything in life, and having it isn't the full puzzle. Your happiness has to be put above all of that, so decide what your passion is and go after that. If you do that hard enough, then guess what? The money will eventually come. Because if you don't, these student loans are going to be even worse on top of a job that you don't like. And never rely on the government to bail you out here. There's no guarantee that they're going to do that, so you have to start making changes in your own life. And the faster you do that, the faster you'll be able to pay off those loans and achieve financial freedom. But now I want to hear from you on this issue. Do you think the federal government should pay off all federal student loan debt in the United States? Or do you think that all of those borrowers are on the hook? They have to pay all of that off no matter what. Whatever your thoughts are, leave a comment below before you go. But that is it for today's business and financial news breakdown. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to stay up to date with all of the top business and financial news from around the country, our team puts together a free daily newsletter, and you can subscribe to it by clicking the link in this corner right here. And if you want to stay up to date with me and everything else happening in the business and financial world, I'm putting out updates 7 days a week over here on this channel, and I've actually got another one ready for you right here, so be sure to check that out before you go. That is it for me, everybody. Be kind out there, and I'll see you all in the next one.